Let's see. Hello guys, this is Rainbow Star signing in. And yes, this is my second upload today. Back off. Yes, I'll be posting this on my Wattpad page. I will post most of my reading updates on my Wattpad page. That is how you will most likely find out that I'm doing a reading. Or that I have done a reading. Because I always post the link. Okay, so, here we go. This one is called An Illness. I think you know what book this is from. If you've gotten the hang of how the pictures in the background work, then yes, you know what book this is from. This is from Klance Oneshots. And you already know who it's by. I always put it in, I'll put it in the description, as I always do. And I will also link the book down below. So, you know where to get your information about this book. You can find it on your own. Request. Keith is sick. It has to be a cough. Keith thought. Something in my throat. He got out of bed and went to the kitchen for a glass of water. For the 100th time. When he had some sort of cool liquid in his throat, he was thrown into another fit of coughs. Water only made it worse. It made it feel like acid. Keith groaned, knowing he should still drink it because something told him it wasn't just a cough anymore. This has been the third time he's been feeling like this after all. Training's been okay when he didn't think about the fact that his throat was burning like the pits of hell. Other than that, he was totally fine. Keith, are you okay? Cheryl asked him. You seem distracted. Keith coughed into his fist, trying to make it look like he was simply clearing his throat. I'm fine. You don't sound fine. Keith glanced at the others, now staring at him, and shook his head. I just need some water. He turned on his heel and headed straight for his room. Why did he have to be sick? Of all people, why? Of all people, why couldn't Lance be sick? He seemed like the type of person to walk around with a blanket draped over his shoulders and then complain to everyone on the ship that he's probably the type to get all cuddly and he'd have to be fed food. Wait, Quiznak? Keith, stop thinking about him. Keith sighed and fell face first on his bed. He hated being sick. It made him feel weak and pitiful. No matter how terrible he felt, he was not sick. Next morning. Okay, he was sick. He was in bed shivering, having cold sweats, completely engulfed by his sheets. And to top it off, he had got only an hour of sleep. Not like it was a surprise. He hasn't been able to sleep much because of all his quiznacking coughing. So he was sick. He was sleep deprived. He was cranky. He was someone you did not want to mess with. He was sick, but didn't want to admit it. At least not to anyone else. Everyone up for training. Aurora's voice spoke from the calm. He rolled his eyes, knowing he'd have to get up. So he threw the covers off him, immediately regretting the decision. As a whole new wave of freezing attacked every inch of his body. "I am not sick," he muttered, forcing himself to sit up. He rubbed his arms for any warmth. "I am not sick. A hot shower would fix this. When in doubt, take a hot shower." It did feel heavenly, and Keith let out a content sigh, standing directly under the water. "You're late." Shiro was shocked at Keith being the last one for training. "Sorry," he mumbled. Shiro took notice of Keith's hair, raising a brow. "Why is your hair wet?" "I took a shower." Pidge frowned confusedly. "Why?" We're gonna train right now. You'll get all stinky and sweaty and have to take a shower again." "I don't tell you how to hack into computers, do I?" he said, slightly defensively. She hummed, giving a nod. "All right." "What's got your mullet in a twist?" Lance asked. "Why do you care?" Keith snapped, and Lance stepped forward, raising a finger to Keith's face. "What?" "Why don't you snap at me? I'd love to." Hey! Shiro stood between the two, with his hands on their chests. "Save it for the bots." Keith walked away, rubbing an oncoming headache. "Fine," he grumbled, not aware of Lance curiously watching him. Punched in the jaw, lost his Bayard, knocked to the floor, thrown in the air, lost his Bayard again. Those were just a few things. "Keith, is something wrong?" "Yeah, man, you're getting creamed." Lance snickered, but then changed his tone once Shiro glared at him. "No offense." Keith huffed angrily from the floor, trying to catch his breath. "I'm fine." But he actually felt dizzy, like really dizzy. I think I just need some water." "I think what you need to do is lie down," Shiro said. "You don't look too good." He knelt down to feel Keith's forehead, but the younger moved away. "I said I'm fine." He planted his feet and made an effort to stand. "You don't have to baby me." Shiro sighed. "I'm trying to make sure you're feeling okay." "Well, stop." Keith finally stood up, but ended up standing way too fast. "It's annoying." He began seeing black spots and rubbed his eyes. I'm Quiznak." Hey, somebody catch him. He's gonna..." "Holy cow." He just up and passed out," Lance exclaimed. Everyone rushed to Keith's side, and Shiro carefully propped him up. He slid his hand under Keith's bangs. "Geez, he's burning up. Shouldn't Shouldn't we take him to the pods? I'm afraid the pods are only designed for physical wounds, not illness. Shiro nodded understandingly, then effortlessly picked Keith up. I'm stumbling a little bit, I'm sorry. I'll take him to his room. Then someone bring me a cold rag. A thermometer? Do you have thermometers? Whatever. Just something to take his temperature with. And any medicine there is. He made his way for the door, but then stopped, turning back to the group. Please? Do you think Keith is the baby whiny type when he's sick? Pidge asked jokingly. The 4 humans were gathered in Keith's room. Lance snorted at the question. Keith? Whiny? No way. He probably gets super cranky and hits everyone in sight. Isn't he already super cranky? Pidge snickered, and Lance waved his hand. More than he already is, I mean. Maybe he'll get a lot of cravings, Hunk said, his eyes starting to sparkle. Like pancakes, ice cream, or lasagna. Lance rolled his eyes and laughed. You just want to cook all of that stuff. Hunk blushed, shrugging slightly. What can I say? I like to cook. Shiro stared at Keith solemnly. He doesn't have cravings. He doesn't really get cranky, nor does he whine. He doesn't even let anyone know. The 3 fell silent. What does that mean? Shiro sighed, finally looking away from the boy. Keith hates being sick. He hates looking even the slightest bit vulnerable in front of people. Even me. I took care of him, though, the few times he was sick. After finally convincing him to let me. But every time he'd pretend nothing was wrong, until he couldn't anymore. It would get so bad to the point where his body couldn't work, and it completely shut down, just like it did now. So, judging from past encounters, he's probably been sick for a few days. He thinks being sick makes him look weak. It was silent again for a while. None of the teenagers knew what to say. So, Hunk finally said, Does he like soup? Shiro smiled for Hunk's effort. You never know. He'll refuse a cup of herbal tea with some honey. Lance chuckled. Didn't even take him for the tea type. He also just usually has yogurt with bananas. And oh, what did he like? It was strawberries, blueberries, and one other thing. We'll just have to ask him when he wakes up. Pidge raised a brow. You realize we're in space, right? I doubt any of those'll be on the market conveniently around the corner. I'll find something at the mall, Hunk said, with determined eyes. I'm going to make everything that... My phone is cutting me off. I'm going to apologize again. I'm going to make everything that will ensure his health. He then left, with Pidge following close behind. Hold up, I want to come too. Lance gazed at Keith for a few seconds more before turning to leave. Lance, wait. What is it? Shiro glanced between them. Allura and I are going with Hunk and Pidge for more supplies. I want you to be here for Keith. Lance pretended like it was the end of the world. What? Why me? Koran's gonna be here, isn't he? Let him take care of Keith. Koran has things to do around the castle. Even though he's here, he won't be able to keep a constant eye on Keith. Remember the time you were locked in a cryopod? Lance pouted, crossing his arms. We don't talk about that. Please? Lance sighed. Fine. I'll watch over the mullet head. Shiro smiled. Thank you. Yeah, whatever. Go have fun with Allura. Okay? Does the bringer of Quiznak want to come over here and start biting my sketchbook again? Okay, thank you for cleaning yourself instead of biting my sketchbook. Don't you dare! No, May, please don't. Hopefully she doesn't come over here. She's continuing to clean herself. Okay. Shiro didn't understand what that meant. Love this author. 'Cause he gay. That's what's in parentheses, just so you know. But headed out. Lance then moved closer to Keith. He checked the towel on his forehead. It was warm already. He took it off and wrung it out in the bowl for it. He went to Keith's bathroom and ran it under some cold water. He began humming while doing the task, and then made his way back. I didn't know you could sing. Eep! I'm gonna cut that out if I can. Lance nearly dropped the towel, looking to find Keith awake. He frowned, folding the towel. Quiznak, you almost gave me a heart attack. Keith rolled his eyes. I sincerely apologize. What are you doing here? Hey, no sitting up. You're sick and need to rest. He put the towel on Keith's forehead again. What? I'm not sick. If you say you're fine, I'm going to smack the living daylights out of you. Lance grumbled, but then felt concerned. You passed out during training. Keith looked away. Oh, Lance sighed, adjusting the rag. How's that? I don't need this. Keith brought his hand up, but Lance pushed it away. No, you refused to admit you were ill, and now you have to deal with it. Keith pouted, crossing his arms. Whatever. Lance glared down at him. Do I need to adjust the rag or not? It's fine. You can go now. As much as I would like to, Lance muttered. I can't. Shiro is making me watch you. What? Why? Because if I'm not around, you'll take the rag off, Keith groaned. No. I mean, why did he make you? I'm the only person here right now besides Koran. But he's got better things to do than babysit you. So you're saying you don't have better things to do? Well, I could be, but the task was forced onto me. Keith didn't really say anything, so Lance tried a different approach. You know, being sick doesn't make you weak. Keith froze, glaring at Lance. What did Shiro say to you? It doesn't matter what he said to us. I'm just telling you, you're not weak. You're actually really strong, one of the strongest people I know. Keith was shocked from the sudden kindness, but Lance cleared his throat. Anyway, if you get sick again, don't keep it a secret. We were all really worried when you fell. Keith couldn't help but tease him. You all were worried? Lance jolted, turning red. Aw, that's sweet, Lance. I didn't think you cared about me. That doesn't mean anything. Just focus on getting some sleep. Keith smiled slightly, pulling the covers up more. Okay. Lance peeked at Keith and smiled a little too, sitting on the floor by the bed. How is he? Shiro asked at Keith's door. Lance looked up and got to his feet. He's okay, just sleeping. Did he wake up at all? Yeah, I think he's accepted being taken care of. Shiro was stunned. Really? That was fast. He usually fights with me for a few days. Lance shrugged, putting his hands in his pockets. Well, now you can take care of him since you're back. I don't know. Maybe you should keep taking care of him. Lance felt his heart jump. Why? I think it'd be better. If he's already letting someone take care of him, then it must be... Shiro stopped, then smiled. Nothing. Lance was curious now. Must be what? Hunk then came with a bowl in his hands. Hey, I made Keith some chicken soup. And here's... He handed it to Lance. And here's the spoon. Thanks. He hasn't eaten a lot, so this'll definitely help. He watched the soup cautiously and walked to Keith. So you'll keep taking care of him? Lance smiled, knowing they couldn't see. Fine. Shiro looked to Hunk, giving him a wink. Alright, perfect, thanks. No prob... Lance found himself alone with Keith again. He sat down and balanced the bowl in his lap, removing the rag again. What would be the best way to wake him? Keith, buddy. He shook him slightly, but Keith groaned, shifting his head to the side. Lance huffed, bringing a hand to Keith's cheek. Come on, man. Hey, come on, man. He made Keith face him again, but couldn't seem to take his hands off. His orbs were captivated by how calm and beautiful Keith looked. He leaned forward but the bowl still balancing on his lap brought him back to reality. Lance yelped, catching the bowl before the soup fell out. His outburst woke the old man. Lance? said Paladin turned red at Keith's raspy voice. Are you okay? Yeah. Keith was already starting to sit up. Hunk made you some. He made you some. Keith chuckled. Soup? Yes, soup. That's what I was. What I was just about to say that. He noticed Keith rubbing his arms. You cold? He set the bowl on the floor and shimmied his jacket off. Only a little, but it's... Oh. Keith didn't expect to feel Lance's coat being placed over his shoulders. K. His face started feeling hot, and it wasn't from the fever. Lance then knelt back down for the bowl. That should help a little. He set the soup in Keith's lap and turned for the spoon. And the soup will help too. He gave me a spoon. As Lance searched for the missing utensil, Keith brought up Lance's hood to his nose. Taking the scent in, he hummed quietly and smiled. Where the heck is it? Lance groaned. Hold on. I'll be right back. He darted out of the room, and Keith took the opportunity to sink his arms through his sleeves. It was slightly big on him. They hung over his fingertips a bit, but Keith fit it perfectly. Okay, Lance burst through the door. Got a spoon. You're too late, Keith said, confusing Lance. My illness has killed me. The younger rolled his eyes, but ended up smiling. Har har, very funny. Keith moved to fix his pillow, catching Lance's attention. Do I need to fix it? Here, lean forward. He gave Keith the spoon. Here, lean forward. That's okay, but Lance was already adjusting it. Okay, he looked down at his soup. Thank you. Nah, don't mention it. He backed away. That any better? That better? Yeah, a lot actually. Lance smiled, making Keith's stomach turn. Is the soup still warm? Keith blinked, turning to the soup. Yes, it's good. You need anything else? No, I'm good. You don't have to spoil me, you know. Lance snorted and stretched his back. You know, you'd know if I was spoiling you. Keith blushed, unsure of what to make of that. Oh. Then Lance snickered. You're so much more tolerable when you're sick. Excuse me? I mean, don't take it the wrong way, but you seem a lot gentler when you're sick. Lance then bit his lip. Not that it's a bad thing. Like I said, yeah. Keith frowned. I'm more tolerable. Maybe I should be sick all the time to accommodate your preferences. Lance brought a hand to his head, regretting what he said. No, Keith. I didn't mean it like that. I was just thinking, but, well, I was technically thinking, but that's not what I was trying to say. Then what were you trying to say? One reason Keith hated being sick was because it messed with his emotions. He couldn't face Lance as he felt himself becoming more upset. I'm sorry, tolerable wasn't the right word. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. Shiro said being sick made you feel vulnerable. I guess that's not always a bad thing. No, it isn't a bad thing. Not at all. And you, out of all of us, don't like showing your feelings and such. So, it's like different, but also okay. Keith raised a brow, turning to Lance. What the quiznack are you talking about? Lance groaned, rubbing his forehead. I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is not a lot of people see this side of you, but you're showing it to me, so it makes me feel closer. Keith turned red, staring at Lance as he tried to find the right words. To you, in a way. So, Lance sighed and brought both hands to his head. Why is this so complicated? I don't know. I like it, I guess. He turned a bright red. I mean, you know, like, it's not annoying. Keith finally sighed. Okay, you can shut up now. I wasn't trying to offend you in any way, Keith. Got it. Thank you. Goodbye. Keith, don't let the door hit you on the... I like you, okay? Keith jumped, and Lance looked down. I like you. I was trying to say this makes me feel closer to you. You don't let people take care of you when you're sick, so you let me. He laughed. It's stupid. No, it's not. Keith turned away. Why do you think I let you take care of me? Lance smiled, understanding what he meant. Because you can't stand being without me. Keith glared at him. But Lance didn't sense any hostility. I'm right, aren't I? If I agree with you, will you shut up? Sure. Lance could see a tiny smile on the sick's face. Then yes, I can't stand being without you. Lance giggled, feeling accomplished. Knew it. Hey, Lance. Yes, honey? My soup is cold. Go heat it up. Of course, Your Majesty. There you go. That is reading number 2 for today. So this is Rainbow Star, the reader, signing out, and don't drill a hole in your head. I still need to get a new outro.